Noob D&D Dad here, and we are talking about session number 41 of my son's campaign, in which we leave the Essentials Kit and the Dragon of Icespire Peak behind. If you remember, the plan was to get up to level 10 and then start the Vecna campaign, and part of what's going to help us to get up to level 10 is the Candlekeep Mysteries, where this has some individual standalone stories that are meant for specific levels that could get us up to level 10 if we want to do it all here. And my friend and my son seem interested in this. So, having finished the last mission of the Dragon of Icespire Peak, the Tower of Storms, I set out with nothing but these books on a 1,000-mile journey from where they're at down to Candlekeep. But before they get too far, consequences of their choices in the last campaign will still follow them. So if you remember, the Red Leather gang that they've had interactions with throughout their campaign basically gave them like a 3-day truce after fighting the dragon together. They would not try to burgle them for 3 days. And so when they went to Tower of Storms, anyway, 3 days had passed, and next thing they know it, they encounter these guys again that have come back. And because my party, well, not my party, my son and my friend, let them keep some of the treasure, they've actually spent it on things to fight them. But we need to come back a little bit and talk about something before that. So the cousin, if you remember, his character is retiring as basically the head of security of Phandalin, which the Phandalin is now called Dragon's Bane. So the cousin made a new character, which is like a tiefling warlock. And this session 41, is the first time he actually showed up to play that new character. And so story-wise, my son and my friend were at the Tower of Storms having a long rest after they killed literally everything. And they were hanging out with Robert the Giant Crab. And we decided that story-wise, it would make sense for this tiefling warlock that the cousin had created, that he would have seen the green glow at the Tower of Storms, and he would have heard the rumors, and basically he would be like, I'm into magic stuff, and I'm into like killing things or vanquishing things and getting treasure or whatever. So he's actually showing up to basically do the Tower of Storms mission. However, these guys have already done it. So as he's showing up through the pathway, and I'm not going to show you the map because my son has the book, because now that we're out of this campaign, he has taken the campaign book at my permission, and he has been poring over it. And he's been calling out things that I've made up and things that we changed, and it's been awesome. But as the cousin is going through this map, the Tower of Storms, to meet up with these two guys and the crab, he's finding all these like dead harpy bodies and blood and like floating sharks in the water, right? So he's actually seeing the aftermath that this mission is basically already done. So the crab meets him on the landing, I guess, right below the lighthouse, and he like waves at him, right? That's like in the book, the crab waves at people to get their attention, and the warlock actually responds. And so anyway, they talk, and he's like, yeah, I'm here for this stuff. And he's like, well, I have some friends you should meet. So basically the crab comes and knocks on the door, and as these guys are finishing their long rest, the crab is like, hey, there's someone here I want you to meet. And so he kind of introduces the cousin's new character to the players, and they start kind of talking, and eventually they go up the mountain to the flat level overlooking the lighthouse to see their wagon that they had left there. And they're basically talking about like, hey, where should we go? Like, let's, kind of teaming up and finding out about each other. So I thought that was a sufficient way to kind of get their stories started to be connected. So now the Red Leather gang, they show up in an airship with a guy on the front of the airship playing a guitar with flames shooting out of it, just straight out of Mad Max. And then underneath the airship, in like the people basket, is 8 of these veteran stat block Red Leather gang bad guys, right? And they're all shooting their crossbows, like they're showing up like to fight. And so we have I had them level it up to level 8. So now we have level 8 sorcerer, wizard, and warlock. And turns out 8 vet stat blocks do nothing to this. So they show up in an airship, and they're coming down at a 45-degree angle to land so that they can, one, so they can have like melee combat, but 2, so they can have the possibility to be on the ground and talk to each other. Because I'm like, this could be some good like plot stuff here. Anyway, so this is all just like made up, totally made up stuff, but in the Dragon of Icespire Peak world, based on things that were introduced in that book. So they start fighting. My friend shoots a wand of fireball, hurts all of them really bad, and then the warlock shoots a fireball, hurts all of them really bad, and then my son shoots this like poison 20-foot radius splash thing that he just barely got from leveling up to level 8, and it kills like 5 of them. And the guitar guy got killed in like the first salvo because I decided his stat block was weaker because he's just on the front playing a flaming guitar. And so then my son and my friend, being like the good characters there, they're like, hey, how about you guys don't fight anymore? Like, let's stop fighting. And so then I was like, okay, I am going to have a die roll decide if they're going to stop fighting. So a 13 through 20 would be that they would keep fighting, and a 1 through 12 would be that they're done fighting after 5 of the 8 guys have died. So I guess 6 of 9. So it rolled so that the fight would stop. So they stopped, but these guys were like, had taken 40 damage, 26 damage, and 56 damage out of 58 hit points. So these guys were really not doing well after getting hit with 2 fireballs and an acid splash. And so then they're like, so this is where I start sneaking in the plot of this Candlekeep thing, where the bandits are like, hey, so yeah, let's not fight anymore, but do you think like for our troubles, like since some of our guys in our airship are messed up, that you guys could give us like one of your rare like spell books or whatever? And that is where it tips off the players that they're after a book for the entrance fee to get into Candlekeep, because that's the entrance fee. I read that in the book. My players were like, no, but how about you give us money and then you can join us and we will use one of our books as entrance to Candlekeep and you can come with us. And they're like, well, why do you guys want to go to Candlekeep? So the bandits want to go to Candlekeep because they heard that some of the books there have maps to like really awesome treasures, which sure, why not? And then my players are like, why do we want to go? Right? I think they just want to explore and learn spells and whatever. So then my friend is like telling these bandits like, yeah, you give us money and then you can join us and we'll go there together. And in my head, I'm like going over all the stuff I've been reading in Candlekeep, right? I've been reading the level 8 mission and just how Candlekeep works. And I'm like, okay, so they're going to have these 3 wildcard NPCs joining them. So in my brain, it's like 2 realities are splitting, right? Where the bad guys go with them or they don't go with them. And I just started thinking like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Like there's so many crazy things. And I was like, stop. Let's let a dice roll decide. And so I set a DC 20 persuasion check for if my players could convince these guys to join them. And if they would join them. Because they joined them fighting the dragon, actually. And so the highest they rolled was 19. And I was just like, these guys are like, all their buddies are dead, their airship's dead, and they're just like, we don't want to join you. So they stay back and pretty much vow to not attack my players anymore, because at this point there's a tiefling, and then my son and my friend both have like the lightning eyes from touching the altar at the Tower of Storms. And I decide to have the banditos ask my players if they can pay them for any kind of healing, right? Let my players interpret that how they will, like if we're talking like potions, spells, whatever. And anyway, they come down to that they will pay them 1,900 gold for 3 level 3 cure wound spells and 1 level 2 cure wound spell, which pretty much does max healing on all these guys except for one guy has like 3 hit points missing. So they paid them for that. And then because my son pretty much got the money for doing the spells, my friend had the idea that he can keep that money to be part of his like magic spell copying fundage, right? Because they've kind of been sharing money. And so since my son has the Protective Verses book from, I think it's from Tasha's Guide, as a spell book, he decides to copy all of his spells into it. Anyway, so we do the math, figure it out so that he can consolidate his spell books. Also, so they can give away the Magic of Nomengard book that they stole from Nomengard as their book to get into Candlekeep. So it's cool how like these things that happened like way earlier in the campaign are still coming up. And even when we're gonna abandon the Dragon of Icespire Peak and we're just gonna go a little bit homebrew for the 1,000-mile journey down to Candlekeep, but then we're gonna follow Candlekeep. Like their characters and their world, like their history, are existing, and so it's just so fun as the DM to just bring up these recurring characters, recurring NPCs, or just like themes. So I've been really having fun with that. But yeah, that's actually kind of the gist of session 41. As they leveled up to level 8, we kind of ham-fisted plot introduced the new warlock to the existing party, and they had a battle, which I thought would be a little bit more of a challenge, but they just laid waste to it. And then they did something that I wasn't expecting, but I was cool with, because then I could deliver exposition in that they negotiated for the fight to stop when they were clearly winning. So I was like, man, these guys are hearts of gold. And they made their decision to make their way to Candlekeep and get in there and just have adventures. I did bring up to them bastions, and it kind of explained how they work and how they can do joint bastions and have bastion turns and crafting and stuff and all the things that are available to them at their current level. And they were basically like, well, we'll do that when we kind of come back to an area. They were kind of thinking of doing bastions in Coneyberry. I figured they would just do bastions on their house in Phandalin. But I think they just want to leave it as a house and have the bastion be a separate thing from scratch, which is cool. But the point is that they already felt like they did a lot of admin this session with leveling up, and so they're like, we'll do bastions later. I'm actually glad that we didn't enter this library just yet, because I have been reading it, but I could definitely read and study this book more before they go in there. So next time, well, gosh, it's like 1,000-mile journey to get down there. So next time they'll probably get in here. And I was tempted to move this library up to the Star Hills or whatever, like the Star Metal Hills that are on the map, so that it would be like the Avatar: The Last Airbender library in the desert. But ultimately I decided just leaving it in its original condition or location, and that the players would have to travel like 1,000 miles to get there. So this has been session 41 of my son's campaign that I am DMing as an absolute noob DM, and I'm having the time of my life. And so thank you for going on this journey with me, and I will see you on the next one. And I love your suggestions and your comments, so feel free to do them. Okay, see you on the next one. Make sure and tell your mom.